Hello and welcome to Good Morning Nintendo, where we try to come together every single week to talk about video game news and what we've been playing. Today we're doing a special episode of Persona 4. May the 4th be with you on Spoilercast. With me today is my brother Zach. Let's say hello.
Hello.
Zach, congratulations on now being tied for third on most appearances on this podcast.
As most apparent, what?
As most for most appearances on this podcast. he
Wait,
just
how many people are there?
three.
Oh,
No,
so I'm
four. There's
third.
four. There's four people. There's me. I'm number one. Dom's number two, and then you're tied with Travis for third most appearances.
Coming for you, Travis.
So anyway, let's dive into it. So today we're going to be talking about Persona 4 Golden. For those of you who don't know, Persona 4 first released on PS2 in America on December 9th, 2008. It then got re-released as Persona 4 Golden on November 20th, 2012, and then most recently it came to Steam on June 13th, 2020. And I have a little synopsis for you guys as well. Persona 4 follows a group of high school students dealing with a mysterious TV channel dedicated to distorting and exaggerating the truth of who they are and their identities. A string of bizarre murders related to the TV channel begins shaking their once peaceful town. They explore the mysterious world inside the TV and perform rescue missions in order to save its victims from death. Only by looking past what is on the screen, finding and evaluating the truth among a myriad of lies, can they hope to find the serial killer and save their town. Alright, I've been talking for a bit, Zach. I just want to know what made you. I feel like I know the story already, but I want you to have a chance to talk. Uh, why did you pick up this game? What drew you to playing Persona 4?
Oh, right. There's a long answer to this and there's a short answer to this. The short answer is the psychological component of it. I love the notion of personas and the whole Jungian psychology that goes behind it with the shadows and like this is your deeper thoughts. There I have a lot of experience with going to therapy and meditating and so on and so forth that uh this like notion of a deeper self that one person tries to like reject is this like really powerful theme to me. So I wanted to like grab it and run with this game and see what it was all about.
All right, that's more. That's kind of like where I'm at with it as well. Is just like I've been, I've been listening to people tell me about like how great the Vita is, all for years, and like how great Persona 4 is, and like how like after Persona 5 came out and all the talk around that, I was just like, it's been a series that I've been trying to like dip my toes into. But like the reason that kind of like I really committed to playing this game was I was listening to GameSpot After Dark, and they had this whole Persona 5 Royal spoiler cast. And like the things that they talked about there, I was just like, oh, like I had given it a shot before, but I was just like, I wanted a chance to. I was just like, oh, this is what this game is about. I really need to try and get to that end game to really get the most out of it. All right. Zach, what did you really? What was one thing that you really enjoyed about this game?
Uh
Wait, or do you want to skip ahead to my other question? Who is your waifu?
Shut up. All right. Hold 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 your toes there. All right. Just stop there. Okay. That's making a lot of assumptions that I don't appreciate. As if the thing that I like most about this game is like the waifu simulator portion of it. And I take offense with that. But the waifu simulator is my favorite portion of this game. No. Anyway, uh I think early on in the game, I was really I was really into like the building the social links, doing the part-time jobs, like kind of living your life, everything that wasn't combat related. The combat at first seemed to like, and the combat in the dungeons at first seemed a bit tedious and a bit like a bit grindy, and the dungeons weren't altogether straightforward. But as the game went on, and I started completing more social links and got my stats maxed out, and I was able to unlock all the dialogue. I was just like, all right, combat, combat, combat. Let me get to the next dungeon. Let me unlock the next part of the story. uh, it kind of shifted from like over the course of the game, where late game I was more interested in the combat, and early game I was more interested in the character development.
Me, for me, it mostly stayed with the character development. I mean, like I was playing it on like very easy mode, so like that could probably be something that will pertain to that. But like to me, it's just like it's very much turn-based art JRPG to me. It's just like and like when you say turn-based art JRPG, like I'm all like I think like it's like I feel like for most people they've either like seen that or know what that is to a certain extent, and like it doesn't really have a whole lot of flair on it. I mean, the only part that like the combat really got interesting to me is like later is like late in the game they start throwing in some mechanics into the combat that is very much supposed to be like trying storytelling through gameplay with like all I think like that second to last boss, because like we played like the secret dungeon with Marie. It's just like there's like this point in the game where like she literally shuts you out in the combat, as like she has shut you out like in the story, but like she also like shuts you out from doing anything to her at all in the combat as well. So I was just like, okay, that's an interesting thing that they're doing there. Oh, but like I don't think it really hit any real the like actual combat ever struck any real highs for me.
Yeah, well, the point that the combat hit was when I got my girl Naoto, and uh, I started unlocking all the higher level personas. Like at one point, I was able to make Thor, and I was just like, all right, I'm just gonna like spam the highest level spells that I can, and just like absolutely wreck face. And it became like I don't know, when the combat became easier, I was just like, well, not easier per se, but when I became like stronger, then that's when I was just like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna do this all the time now.
All right. Uh, moving on. I still want to know who is your best waifu.
Uh, I I have to say Naoto, just because uh I don't know, I just liked her the most out of all the girl characters in the game. She does it like she's not overly flirty. She is very directed. Like at first, she presents herself as a boy, has that whole like uh transgender shadow talking with her, trying to like succeed in a profession mostly dominated by men when she is like younger and a girl. Uh, I I don't know. There's a lot of good things about Naoto. Also, she carries a gun. Like everyone else has like a fan, is kicking things. Naoto doesn't fuck around. She came in with a freaking revolver. The first combat, I'm like, I'm sorry. What are you doing? How old are you? I get you that you're a detective, but where did you find that? So yeah, no, and she had all the best spells already when you got her. She has like Megidola, which does almighty damage to everyone on the field. And I was just like, all right, Naoto, you can stick around.
Yeah, Naoto's a great character in the end game. Uh, so like the waifu I went with, it was just like I felt a bit bad for. I mean, like I felt like, oh, I'm picking the one like that's designed to be the waifu that most people are gonna go after. Like I went with Rosette. Is just like, but like the reason that like I liked Rosette was just like it's just nice sometimes having someone that's like openly like, hey, I like you, rather than like being brooding or like one of the characters I didn't like I is just like you have to kind of like she wants to be like a very controlling person in the relationship. I mean like she's used to like getting her way with guys, but then you kind of have to go in there and like tell her like no to a lot of things. I'm just like, I'm not really a huge fan of like that like character dynamic. All
Yeah, yeah. I wants you to be a jerk to her for some reason. She doesn't want you to be waited on hand and foot. She wants you to just be like, no, get it yourself. Like it's very toxic at the beginning with like she opens up more through the course of that social link, but it's not a healthy relationship.
All right. So I should have actually told you what my favorite part of the game was, because I as well because um so my favorite part of the game was I think my boy Kanji, and his storyline, and like it's like I told you like I think I told you ahead of time like oh Kanji's my favorite character, and like you kind of understood the reason why growing up with me. So it's just like the thing that I really liked about him is just like he is a guy that has been like brought up in like a textile shop, so like he knows how to sew and like does a lot of things that are more like traditionally considered traditionally feminine. And it's just like that's all kind of what I like to do. Is just like went to school for costume design. I like sewing and everything like that. And like I don't I don't think I've usually I don't think a lot of people will qualify me as like a guy's guy a whole lot of the time. So it's just like it seeing him like all how like his whole in his dungeon he's like going through he's questioning himself about like what his sexuality is and like how he views how he wants people to view him. It's just like because that was the thing like I questioned about myself at one point. It was just like I was just like okay, am I at home into it? Like I'm into these more feminine things that are home that like by nature like put me or at the time that I was in high school, I was just like this puts me into a certain bracket as just like am I into guys or whatnot. And the whole like so his whole storyline all kind of hit home for me. All was something, and that was something I really enjoyed. Um, Zach, what's something that you didn't enjoy about the game?
Oof. Okay. A lot of the dungeons. There were a lot of aspects about the dungeons that didn't have good conveyance in terms of how to complete them. Uh, for starters, Yukiko's castle, there is a point where the castle keeps looping around, and it's not obvious
That you
that
gotta
you're
like
in.
turn around and like go to the door beforehand and whatnot.
Yeah, that was annoying. Then there was it was the fourth dungeon that was like a video game designed level, and you reach like the third floor, and it's like three dead ends, right?
Mhm.
And what you're supposed to do is walk to one of the fountains, and it'll automatically teleport you to another portion of the dungeon. But that's not apparent either. It's just like, oh, there's a dead end. So I'm like, okay, maybe I went up the wrong staircase. I'm going to turn back. And then I looked around the whole second and first floors for another staircase, couldn't find it, and then uh, eventually went back and then found the way to teleport. It's so there's a couple moments like that in the dungeons where they don't really explain how to move forward uh, with them in a way that makes sense.
Yeah,
So
it's. I mean, like that's one of, like I think the drawbacks to this and like being a PS2 games. Like a lot of the floor levels are, like there's a few levels that are like actually like properly mapped out and like this is how this floor works. But there's like a lot of levels that are just like procedurally generated or like art will change depend how every time you go back to that floor. It's just like, so it's a bit annoying because it doesn't like really make for real interesting dungeons. The dungeons are very much like just grind through the enemies, get to the like you can look around the floor a bit to find like extra materials and chests, but then like it's just basically move through this floor, move like attack enemies on your way up so that you're properly leveled by the time you get to the end of it. And then like maybe for most of the floor, most of the dungeons, it's like you get a floor or two that has like some like weird twists thrown in it. And it's just like, so yeah, I feel you on that. Like I think like I've played a little bit of Persona 5 so far, and like in Persona 5 you actually get dungeons that are full out like proper dungeons, like a Zelda dungeon where like there's puzzles and traps, and like it's very much like has a more like has better level design altogether. All right. All Are there any characters that you really want to like so the thing that I didn't really enjoy about this game was like it feels dated to me. Like, there's like even it like so the game is takes place in 2012, but like even and like the game first came out in like 2008, but like how like a lot of the issues that the oh that your main characters are dealing with are things that like we mean like we're different. We're of course in being in America, we think about things differently than how people in Japan think about things. But like even in like the last 10 years since this game originally came out, like we kind of progressed in how we view things a bit. Like I had like this whole thing like when we were talking about Naruto originally, like I was just like, oh, it's just like it's I like how when you find out about Naoto and how Naoto is actually a female that's going around cross dressing as a guy, I was just like, oh, as soon as you find that out, you'd like drop saying calling or addressing her as he and just switch over to her immediately. And I was just like, okay, that's weird. It's just like because I kind of immediately took it as her being trans.
Yeah, so I have a lot of thoughts about this as well. So I think there's a lot of things to consider. And like, yeah, it does have like a dated aspect to it originally, right? I mean, you're looking at it, it was published in 2008, right? Uh it's Japan, which the anime culture already is a bit problematic to start with like the perverted nosebleeds and stuff like that. So like there is like a certain level uh of difficulty there, but it's a different culture as well. And then on top of that, like I don't think that they handled it poorly altogether.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
mean,
like no, like I said, it's just like and I was getting there. It's just like you said, like you had gone through more of Naoto's storyline, like her social link, than I had at that point, and like by the end of Naoto's social link, she embraces being a female, and I was just like, okay, so, and like you said, like this when I was going through that, it's just like these are kids in high school, and like they're still like considering these things and figuring these out, and that's kind of like that's a more of like the lens that you have to keep on it. It's just like they haven't made that final decision yet, and it's just like we like I feel like 10 years ago, if you had asked me what a trans person was, I wouldn't have known. Like that's straight up something that like I wouldn't have known. Like someone came out to me like 2012, 2013 about being trans, and I literally had to Google it. It was just like so like the way that like we view and talk about things is a whole lot different than we did back then.
yeah. And uh I mean, talking about the aspect of these being kids in high school that are learning about themselves and like trying to figure things out is just like with Kanji, for instance, it's like he has this inner voice about like where he thinks that maybe he should just prefer men, and but that isn't all of who Kanji is. It's like, yeah, that when we talk about that like inner voice, that shadow, it's not all of who we are. It's just the part of ourselves that we immediately like have this rejection to. Uh, and uh, I think that is a big theme of the game is that you have these thoughts going on in the back of your mind, but they're part of you, but they don't make up the entirety of you, which I think is a very important thing to consider when you're considering the stories of Kanji and Naoto that deal with questions of like sexual orientation and gender identity.
So yeah, like those were definitely like two of the um those two storylines that like really hit the home the most for me. Um, what did you so like? I think I want to get into like where the game goes at the end. Is just like what did so at the end like you're very like, you get to kill a god at some point. It's a JRPG. It's just like that's what kind of JRPGs do. You get to kill a god at the end. But like, what did you think about like some of the end game dungeons and like where they tried to go with the story in the end game?
I I kind of lost interest in the story at the end game, to be honest. After Adachi went down, I was like, all right, this is getting a bit mumbo jumbo for me. But I mean, like, I could appreciate where they were going with it because, like, at the end, they revealed that you're essentially what part of the Midnight Channel does is that it reflects what you want to see. And so the guy that you think is the killer, like close to the false ending, as it were, like an image pops up and you assume it's his inner thoughts, but no, it's what you're thinking that he should be thinking at that point in the game. So while his like shadow self is basically confessing to murder, uh the truth of the storyline is much different if you stop looking at what you want to see and try to understand the other person's perspective more. Uh, I think there's a lot to be said there in terms of what they were trying to reach in terms of like themes for that for the end game. But at that point, I had gone through like 6 months of uh, of me trying to figure out the right dialogue options. I was just like, all right, guys, I'm about done here.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, it was a bit interesting for me. It was like because like the thing that was like the most interesting about it to me is it's like was again looking at the time that this game was made, and it's just like okay, like it's talking about media like video and like TV and like what you see on TV, but like I feel like that message still kind of holds true because it's just like talking about social media. It's just like everyone all is portrays themselves one way through their like through your Facebook feed, your Instagram feed, Twitter or whatnot. Is just like you get to see, but like what you see on that feed is also a lot different than what's truly going on with that person. And that's the thing that I found most interesting is it's like, okay, they're like I think they get a bit of a mixed bag here at the end with what they're trying to say, or like it probably, or maybe it hasn't aged well. But it's just like I still feel like there is a lesson to be learned in some of what they're going for here.
No, I mean the name persona is like relating to this Jungian term as well of like this mask that we portray to other people, right? So I think that it's very suiting if we're going with that whole social media interpretation of everything. I mean, it's very true today. Everyone has that face that they present in terms of like their Facebook or their Instagram or what they show the world. And it kind of like hides what's really actually going on in their life. So I think that makes a lot of sense with some of the series overarching themes as well.
All right. Uh, okay. Would you recommend this game to anyone?
Uh, yes, I would. In fact, I already have.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Uh, a few people like I don't know. I must have talked to a few people about trying to get them on playing Persona with me. I think I talked to a couple of my friends, Drew V. I might have talked to someone else. I talked to Ben about it recently as well, and he was just like, "Oh yeah, you're playing Persona." And I was just like, my friend Alex also was really happy to see me playing the Persona games because he thought that they were absolutely incredible. So it's just that this is a beloved series by many.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I would definitely recommend it to other people to play.
All right. Okay. Yeah. I mean, yeah. You kind of hit on everything. So- yeah. I mean, I'm not sure if the weird thing is like it's a weird caveat for me if I wanted to try and convince anyone to play this because it's just like it isn't so much like the gameplay of it that I enjoy. I mean, like it wasn't really the gameplay of it I enjoyed. It's the story part of it that I really enjoyed. So it's just like for me, if I had to try and like sell someone on this game, it's just like just play it for the story. Like play it like I would tell them to play it like how I did. Just play it on super easy mode. Just get through the dungeons and like look up a guide for like how like for the segments of the game like where you have to do investigations and like that way you can enjoy the story as much as you can, but like not really have to worry about slogging through most of the dungeons.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. Is that this is a game mostly for the story? I mean the I mean the combat is basic JRPG style, which is always fun to play. Um, and like going through the day to day and trying to figure out the best way to like maximize your social links. I think that is an interesting component as well. But the storyline is where you get most of the value in this game. Uh it asks a lot of questions about identity, psychology, and emotions and trying to figure out who you are in a world of like intermashing human consciousness that I think it has something that could speak to everyone.
All right, and I think we're gonna finish it up here with. I mean, like I've talked to you. I mean, like I obviously came and I talked to you about that Persona 5 spoiler cast that I had listened to, and like you've been looking at Persona 5 Scramble as well. As it's like, do you have any plans to continue on with the Persona games? Are you looking at picking up another one?
Yeah, I am definitely looking at an option. I'm looking at my options in terms of getting Persona 5 Royal right now because from what I've heard, that one has like some trauma themes that I would like to like go through the storyline for that and see what their take on that is. But it like I need to wait for it to either come out on PC or steal my roommate's PS4 for a month.
Yeah, it's just like um I'm trying to play Persona 5 right now. Like I haven't played it, picked it up in like a few weeks or so, just because like I'm going through a bunch of stuff with like trying to get a new job, and like that includes like studying for things and all that. So I haven't really had spent a whole lot of time gaming this past few weeks, but like I would definitely want to get back to it all at some point. Hopefully, I'll be able to do that over the summer. And maybe we can get back together and try and do a Persona 5 spoiler cast. I think that'd be fun. Or like do a Persona 5 Royal slash Scramble spoiler cast. All right.
Yeah, I'd like that.
Uh, is there anything else that you want to talk about from the game? Anything that I didn't bring up here?
Nope, I'm pretty set.
All right, cool. Well, until next time, this has been Good Morning Nintendo. You can all find us at all on Instagram and Twitter if you want to reach us. All links are in the description, and it would help so much if you were to leave a rating for us. It helps so much with the algorithm. And until then, have a nice day.